Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast, and we're looking at the NBA Cup final, year number 2 here in Vegas. Got the Bucks and the Thunder. So we're bringing you best bets in this episode. Got some parlays, got some ways to play this game in the lines, the spread, etc. Also have a player props episode up where we're focusing strictly on the player props to get those out for you for this one as well with some nice early lines. So we're taking advantage of that here on Monday night. Nate, let's go ahead and jump right into your first angle here for this game.
Yes, I do have an SGP, and I know it's sometimes foolhardy to take these SGPs with 3 legs, but I just think it's so reliable. These 2 top scorers, Giannis and SGA, take them to go 25 plus and 20 plus. I mean, I'm fine with SGA at 25 plus as well, but both those guys to score 20 in the 20s and the Thunder to win gets you plus 120, and I think we both like the Thunder here. It definitely, could see them winning over the spread, which you'll talk about in a minute. But just for these 2 guys to score, I mean, it's been unbelievably reliable. Like 9 of the last 10 for SGA, 5 straight for Giannis, of course. I mean, 30 plus every time in these last 5. Just whether it's insane usage in the tournament here against Orlando, 46%, or it's smaller usage against Atlanta, and he just had a parade to the free throw line, 32 points. Clearly going to be going all out for the cup. Like, you can just handicap this as a playoff game and playoff Giannis 25 plus in 17 of his last 19 games where he wasn't injured. So he's just hell or high water. Like, he is getting to the bucket, getting fouled, forcing the issue. And there's sort of a negative correlation here, right? Where it's like, if Giannis is scoring a lot, the Thunder are probably going to win because it means that the Bucks aren't getting much else going on offense. Like, the Bucks are beating teams right now. They're mostly beating bad teams because their defense gets compromised, giving help to Giannis or, building too much of a wall and being unable to close out on shooters after that. And Thunder are not going to have to do that. Like, they're well positioned to guard him, to give up some points, but to just swallow everybody else up. Dame Lillard in a very tough spot here against now Alex Caruso and all the other waves of guys the Thunder can throw at him. I mean, he had 11 points the last time he played OKC last March. I mean, I'm not necessarily fading his points and assists, but I just don't think that there's going to be enough help here for Giannis to not go for 30-ish, 25 to 30. So I think that's utterly reliable. And SGA has just been an absolute killer in the playoffs. Like, again, coming back to this, 30 points per game last year. He was held to 24 twice. Nice job, Herb Jones, in really low-scoring games. But the Bucks don't have an answer for him, and they just this is where they allow points in the mid-range, right? They 6th most mid-range field goal attempts, and that's exactly where SGA is going to burn them, and he has burned both teams so far in these Cup playoffs. He just clearly is on the track for that NBA Cup MVP.
Yeah, I mean, who's going to guard him? I mean, Andre Jackson's not really getting the minutes. I think Taurean Prince is going to be out there for a bunch. He was sick. Well, I can talk about that. I have him involved in some stuff. But yeah, I mean, no problem with any of this. I mean, I have no problem with SGA. I think SGA 25, Giannis 20 might even be. I mean, I wouldn't flip either of them. I would take 25 for both of them because I think Giannis is the one who could potentially have some more trouble scoring than SGA. There's just nobody for SGA, and he's going to get you in the ISO. And granted, this team is pretty good against the ISO for the Bucks. That is a play type that they can defend one-on-one. They have some good, but like not for Dame unless you want to play Andre Jackson a few more minutes, and which they might. They did that against the Hawks to kind of have him on Trey, and that's fine. Maybe they will. It's going to crush their offense, but either way, let me just get into what I'm obviously sort of alluding to, which is that I think the Thunder are going to win this game, and I think they're going to win it by double digits. But I'm going to take over because I can get it at 4.5. I'm going to take it. We talk about 5 being an important number to the spread in basketball for a number of reasons. Towards the end of the game, if you're down 5, you're less likely to foul, so you just kind of leave it at that. But I'm happy to get this under 5. Like I said, I'm considering minus 9.5 for the Thunder here. I'm just starting with the fact that in their last, I'm just looking at their last 10 games, it's been an incredible team all season. But in their last 10, they've covered this number in 8 of 10. They've won 9 of 10 straight up. They beat the Warriors without Steph by 4 in Golden State. That was an interesting one where the stars out and the bets kind of went up for the Warriors. And they still pulled it out at the end, did the Thunder. And other than that, they lost to the Rockets, their rival, who played them really well. Then they obviously smacked them in this last game. But those are the only 2 games that they didn't win by at least 10 points, much less 5, right? They won by 4. Everything else they won by 10. And then they lost to the Rockets by 3. But just covering a ton and winning by double digits in a majority of their games this season, 62% of their games. That is a lot. The things that the Bucks would do to beat them would be Dame goes clear off because he's shooting from 25 feet away consistently, and potentially getting to the foul line. And then the foul line for Dame and for Giannis, it would be getting to the foul line, forcing, if they get past the top layer of the defense for OKC, that would be how they win. They can't do that. I don't see them penetrating underneath the defense and getting below the foul line in space. I don't think there's going to be any space there for them. You kind of, I think we'll talk about a little bit how they can sort of cover and then retreat. They don't necessarily need to like worry about like over committing to the drive or over committing to the shot. They have a ton of rangy defenders that are all just circling around doing their thing. And that's what I'm looking at here with why I don't even think they'll need to foul, because I don't think they'll get in a position where the Bucks are going towards an empty basket. This is the number 1 rim defensive field goal percentage team, and the number 4 in terms of paint defensive field goal percentage overall. So teams are coming in, whether it's right next to the basket and going all the way to the rim, or it's in the extended paint and trying to pull it. There's just nothing available in there. And in part because it's almost like it's to a degree like a 2-1-2 type of zone, with a bit of free safety going on sometimes, whether it's like Lou Dort not guarding the best player or Kayson Wallace or Alex Caruso. There's always one of those ridiculously good defensive guards that are in wings that are just sort of looming wherever they need to be. And that'll be how you stop Giannis and force the ball out of his hands before he can even get into a spot to be able to score. So hopefully like mid-range Giannis shows up for the Bucks if they plan on scoring a bunch, which he's done throughout this season. But I think the other last thing here is they don't really shoot much from the corner, and that's why I also think we might be seeing a bit more Taurean Prince, AJ Green, because you do need some shooters and some spot up guys who can also not be a liability on defense. You really need a ton of really good 3-and-D guys here to help out with the Thunder. So that's why I think you'll see a bit more of them. But other than that, that's not a specialty of the Bucks. They're just not a good 3-point shooting team this season.
Yeah, I mean, it's a major step up in class for them. I mean, they won against the Magic without their 2 best players, and then they beat the Hawks, who were also benefiting from a really nice schedule lately in terms of who the Bucks have played. Like, yeah, and I'll get into that with Giannis a little bit down the line here, but like the Bucks they've gotten it right to a degree, but like they got lucky as hell to beat the Houston Rockets, and other than that, have not beaten a good team really in any of this stretch. So to say like, okay, here we go against the West. This is only their 4th game of the year against the West, and one of those against Utah. And yeah, so like I think it's fine to just cap it that way and be like, this is the best team in the West, and they want the cup, and they're coming for it. So another way to play it here is I mean, I'll split a unit between Thunder to win both halves, which is plus 250. That's just on the money line, and take the small hedge here. I mean, maybe you could go a quarter unit on this for the Bucks halftime, but Thunder full time, based on kind of the cap, the kind of the narrative of how this semifinal went for the Thunder, where they started really slow against Houston, then they just kind of dropped the hammer, mostly defensively. I mean, but if you look at both their first half games here in the Cup, only a 93 offensive rating. Came out a little tight. They are still inexperienced, even though they're better than these other teams. So they don't necessarily start hot. And then in the second half, 139 offensive rating plus 30 net. And the Bucks, I mean, they're kind of flatline in these two. I mean, it's about a 110 offensive rating. I mean, in their last 10 regular season, they've had a 120 offensive rating in the first half. So perhaps they are able to come out kind of hot. You see that often from underdogs being like, all right, nobody believes in us. And, we're going to come out firing. Perhaps they're able to get the lead here and OKC starts slow. I don't think that you bail off OKC at that point. I think you should be looking at this to live bet them, because at some point, their depth and just defensive versatility is probably just going to take over this game. And SGA on the other end is going to take it over when he needs to. There's definitely a possibility they just lead wire to wire though, because like in their last 12 on the road. They're scoring 62 in the first half, and they could just blow doors off this Bucks team that, like we're saying, maybe just isn't ready for this step up in class and doesn't have the horses. But maybe you get this 5-1 payout, and so the profit is either, if either of these come home, it's either plus 150 or plus 400 if you split the unit evenly here. But yeah, you could play around with it and see how you might profit, and just hope you don't get like a bad beat, like it's tied at halftime or something.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's why it's big money, is just for that reason. And is this DraftKings, or is this available across a couple books? Do you know?
FanDuel has the 5-1 on the
Okay.
halftime split. Yeah, DraftKings had that both halves thing. I mean, lines are still coming up here on Monday night. Yeah,
Sure.
eventually I think you'll see them on both books.
Yeah, I think you'll see it across a bunch too. There's gonna be some specials for the Cup. One NBA game on a Tuesday. No other real sports other than hockey that we can bet here in America. So let me get to a same game parlay with some negative correlation. That one of those that I played here on Monday night with RJ Barrett and the Bulls, which is looking okay. He's on pace, and the Bulls are winning by 10. But I'm gonna do it here with Torian Prince and take him over 4.5 points, and the Thunder money line, which gets you plus 235 on bet 365. You could take the threes, by the way, by themselves. It's over 1.5 is plus 180. He took 7 threes and 8 total field goals in the last game in the 20 minutes that he played against the Hawks. Not the same defense, obviously, but the type of player that you want to target, as I mentioned a minute ago, against the Thunder is a spot up guy who's catch and shoot, who can also, you can guarantee some minutes for, because they're not only not a liability on defense, they should be one of your better defenders on the wings if you're going to have any success limiting what the Thunder want to do. So I think this is a big Torian Prince type game for that reason. He's shooting nearly 40% of his shots from the corner. That is where the Thunder are weakest. We've spoken about it now for a couple seasons, and it's still the case this season as well, as they are allowing bottom 3 amount of attempts from the corner, and bottom 10 in terms of the amount of makes that they're giving up from that spot as well. So yeah, for Torian Prince, the other thing here is 4.5 points. There might be a narrative that like he isn't. By the way, Torian Prince, leader in the NBA of 3-point percentage. I should mention that. I always think of it and never mention it on the show, probably because I don't talk about Torian Prince much. But in this one, I'm mentioning it, and I'm also saying he was sick. There was like a 3-game period that coincided with Middleton's return that allowed it to look like Chris Middleton might be the reason that Torian Prince wasn't doing as well. And you could make the argument that if it's with the second unit and you see KM out there with the second unit with Prince, then yeah, more of those shots are going to go to Chris Middleton. But he's also playing with the starters, and Torian Prince, once again, was sick, and then he wasn't. And when he wasn't, Chris Middleton was playing, and he still took 8 shots in that game. So we're back to him taking 6 to 8 shots in that range where he's been for most of the season. 5 of them might be threes. I don't know if you want to take it or not. Like if you get 5 threes off, I'm always going to love 2 of them to go in at plus 180 for the dude with the best field goal percentage from deep in the league. But either way, I'm taking it with the money line. It's just I wanted to take an over for a Bucks player and see how I could juice up the money line for the Thunder. And some negative correlation here helped us get to plus 235.
Yeah, it looks like now Middleton is sick with whatever Prince had, though. So that's the key. I mean, he didn't practice on Monday, neither did Dame with a calf, and they're both expected to go. But that scared me off. I was going to look at a Middleton over, but I think now we've seen like a little bit of a dip in production, and that him maybe not being full strength is definitely going to be a problem for his production, and Prince is definitely going to benefit from that in terms of just more minutes and being more important to the Bucks.
Yeah, 100% agree with all that. So that's all the time we have in Best Bets. Make sure that you are subscribed to that page so you can also check out the Play of Props and don't miss any of these episodes we're bringing you each and every weekday. And until we see you next, happy betting.